got right up 6 o'clock. Right. Welcome to the Carlisle Local Regular School Board meeting, Monday, October 22nd, 2018 at 6 p.m. Mr. Bassler, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Lanehart?
Here.
Mr. Dunkman?
Here.
Mr. Jewell?
Here.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Here.
And Mr. Moore?
Here.
Thank you. Would everyone please rise and join me in the pledge? And I would like to ask Mrs. Dear Wester if she would please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I know, they did move it.
I was totally lost. Thank you very much.
That's why I was back in the corner by myself.
At this time, we will move to student and program recognition.
Thank you, Mrs. Lanehart. We've got a group of youngsters here tonight that we want to recognize, and I'm going to turn it over to Principal from Grigsby Intermediate, Mrs. Jennifer Dear Wester.
Good evening, welcome parents, students. Thank you Board of Education for having us here this evening. I do want to honor our Student of the Months. At Grigsby, they had Student of the Months a couple years ago. They didn't do it last year, so we brought it back, so it's very exciting. Now these students did already receive a certificate and a $5 Dairy Queen gift card, and that was sponsored by our PTO, so that's very exciting. So today they're just going to get a thing of Smarties, because we know they're all very, very smart, and they're going to get a bracelet saying Leader in Training, Grigsby Intermediate. So I do want to recognize the September Student of the Month. Students, when I call your name, just come on down and line up right here in front of here in the blue. Miss Chloe Griffin, come on down. Yay. Right there, okay? Then we have Mr. Caden Combs, third grader. Chloe was also a third grader, so come on down. Is Caden here? Oh, we didn't make it. That's fine. I'll hold his treat till tomorrow. From Mr. Thomas's class, Miss Annie Steckel, fourth grade. Also from fourth grade, Miss Bear's class, Gavin Morris. Did Gavin make it? No, so you can still clap for Gavin. All right. From Mr. Franco's class, did Jessa make it? Jessa, yep, come on down, Jessa. Jessa Blair, fifth grade. And then we have also fifth grade from Miss Suter's class, Mr. Jack Porter. Again, this was for September. Back there. All right, October Student of the Month from Miss Amos's class, Caden Salyer. Did Caden make it? All right, come on down, Caden. We have from third grade, Presley Goodlow from Miss Amos's class. Presley, come on down. All right, also from fourth grade, Nathan Wilson, Mr. Phillips' class. Nathan, come on down. Good job, Nathan. And then we have Miss Hayla Lista from Mr. Phillips' class, fourth grade. Then we have Miss Briley, or Mr. Briley Setzer from Mr. Helmergarn's fifth grade class. Did he make it? Oh, still good job. And Will Carpenter from Miss Tomko's class. We'll make it. All right, all the parents of these students, please stand up, because you're the reason why they come to school every day, do a great job. Give your parents a round of applause, Student of the Month. Good job. All right, guys, you can have a seat. The next group of ladies we're going to honor, it was their ideal in the lunchroom about a month ago. They said, hey, Miss Deerwester, I want to raise some money for cancer awareness. We got $21 from our lemonade stand. I said, well, what could we do at school to help raise that money? It was all their idea. We had a hat day on October 5th for only $1. Everyone got to participate if they wanted to wear a hat. They raised $189 for cancer awareness. So these girls, come on up, Miss Jaden Isaacs. And they're all from Mr. Steckel's homeroom. Thank you. Just line up there and show your beautiful dress. There you go. Then we have Miss Mila Bryant from Mr. Steckel's homeroom, 4th grade. And then Miss Kennedy Jackson from Mr. Steckel's homeroom, 4th grade. I'm going to face the audience. I'm sure your parents want some pictures. All right. Again, please give them a big round of applause. And those parents, if you would like to stand up to be recognized, I do appreciate the parents coming or just waving your hands. It's up to you. Good job, parents. I do want to recognize a couple teachers in the crowd. Miss Tomko, just raise your hand. I'm so glad you came. Miss Suter, great job. And Miss Goings, one of our building subs that comes all the time. Yes. Any other teachers? All right. Thank you very much. I love it here. I hope I get to stay a while. Have a great evening. You guys are fine.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to have a curriculum update, but if anybody wants to leave, they're more than welcome. We won't get our feelings hurt, and we're welcoming you if you want to stay, so. There's something I said. Exactly.
Well, you know.
You guys have a great night.
Did you give me a
Thank you.
magnifying glass?
I know, exactly. I know. She doesn't want us to see this stuff. This is a challenge.
Thank you.
Brian, how can you even see that?
That's Deer West.
What are you talking about? Oh, where did you see it? I can't even see it. So I spot one.
There.
Okay, because I put it. Okay, so it's D-E-E.
I wasn't sure if it's D-E-E.
I wasn't either, but that's how I put it. Well, I wrote it down, so.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm Karen McKinley. I'm the curriculum director, and I don't have any cute little people with me this evening, nor do I have any candy to hand out, so I'm really sorry about that. It's a pleasure to be here this evening just to talk to you a little bit about all the things that have been happening in the curriculum area here at Carlisle Local Schools. One of the main things that is happening across the state is there's revisions in our learning standards. And the language arts and math revisions have been in the works for several years and will actually be on the test this year. The science and social studies revisions have been proposed. They're in the final processes of being approved. Those have not been approved as of yet, will not apply on any test for this year. We also are going to have revised standards in our educational technology field, and those again are in the process of being approved and finalized as well. So one of the big things that you'll see that we're going to be working on is updating our curriculum maps and figuring out what those changes are and how that impacts our day-to-day instruction. So most of our professional development for this fall has been devoted towards that end. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that our middle school math department is up for a new product review, new program review, which is fortuitous because we found out as contacting the vendor that the current one we have is no longer going to be around after this year. We kind of found that out accidentally, so this is a great opportunity for us anyway. We've already started looking at a couple of products. There's an organization called edreports.org that rates textbook manufacturers and programs and things like that in terms of how they align to Common Core standards, and then also how they do with rigor, how easy they are to use. And so we're looking at the top 2 programs currently to see how they stack up against what we're already doing. So we've already had one vendor review. We're getting ready to have another one this Friday. And then we'll kind of go from there to see what it is. No program is 100% accurate. You know, you teach the standards and you fit what you have. So what we're looking for is something that fits most of the Ohio standards and that is easy for the students and the teachers to use. So we're in the process of doing that. The little microscopic piece of paper that I gave you with all the pretty colors on it is actually the schedule for our in-service waiver day this Friday. It's a little difficult to read, but I wanted it all to get on one piece of paper for you. It is color-coded by the building, and it will show you a variety of things that we are going to be looking at this Friday. A lot of the suggestions on this came directly from the staff for things that they felt like that would have a great impact on their instruction and what their professional practice is. We're going to start dipping our toe in a little bit into the social emotional learning world with the zones of self-regulation, which basically is a program that helps students realize when they're getting anxious or angry, and then what do they do about it. So we're going to start doing that. We'll be following up in the November in-service with a lot more of the social emotional things, looking at trauma and some other situations as well as that. But primarily for Friday, it's very content heavy. There is work time set aside for our teachers to really dig into the new revised standards and to update the curriculum maps. There's some work sessions for interventions for some of our struggling students. We are going to be standardizing the way we teach the scientific method, which was a suggestion from some of our science teachers, so that, you know, that when they first see it in intermediate school, it's explained the same way all the way through. We've done that with our language arts writing graphic organizer, and we have seen great results from that in our scores. So those are some of the things that are kind of the highlights that we're going to be doing it. Our Ed Tech group is going to be visiting the Miami Valley Career Technical Center for the morning, and then we'll be coming back in the afternoon and bringing that information plus what their experience is, plus their proposed revised standards, and working with Mr. Turner, our Chamberlain principal, and looking at K-12 alignment. So those are some exciting things that are happening here at Carlisle in the curriculum department. It's been a busy fall. It's not done yet. So we have a lot that we're working on, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. McKinley. This is, she's been working on this quite some time, so, you know, there's a lot of teachers that are involved, and we'll be all moving around in different areas of the district for this professional development. So we regard it highly, and it's very important for our staff. So thank you again for your work.
Yes, thank you. At this time, we will move to our visitors' comments, and we have 30-minute window for speakers, whoever wants to speak, and looks like we've got quite a few of you here. So if you want to take 2 minutes each, that's fine to get to 30 minutes, or however you got to get to 30 minutes. Dan he's our minute man over here. So,
Usually called the money man.
well, yeah, it's M&M. Minutes and money, okay? He's in control of that. So whoever wants to come and say something, you may do that. State your name, address, reason for you speaking, and we will have no mention of staff names or student names. All right, at this time we will move to the Treasurer's Report. Mr. Bassler.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Lainhart. Just a few things before I get started with my action items. Is first, non-action item, we have Capital Conference coming up as a board. Remember, it's been moved to Sunday through Tuesday, not Monday through Wednesday anymore, even Sunday through Wednesday, November 11th through the 13th. We decided as a board to go up on Sunday. The good news or bad news is we're staying in the same place we always stay. Good news is we're familiar with it.
We know how to get there.
We know how to get there. It's not something new, but bad news is it's not connected with the convention center, and we need to ride the shuttle from the convention center to our hotel. So we're staying in the Renaissance again. I guess right after I finished booking it, there was emails going across the state that treasurers didn't even get rooms for their board members. So I guess I was excited about having a room and not having to tell my board we don't have rooms. But I don't know. I'm just not lucky enough to get the ones right there. And I'm fast on the trigger too, but it doesn't seem to make any difference. But I will get with you all about when we plan on going. Everybody's planning on going up, when we might meet on Sunday, or if anybody's not coming up till Monday or something like that. But I'll send out communication via text as we get closer to that, so we can all coordinate when and where we're going to meet once we get there. Other than that, I have my action items for this month. First, I need approval for the September 24th regular board meeting.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moore, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jewell. If there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes.
Mr. Dunkman?
Yes.
And Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried.
Next is the financial report, which is part of your packet that went out to everybody. I always feel bad that I'm not prepared. I don't have anything new to say. No surprises.
No news is good news.
Yeah, no news is good
Glad you have
news.
nothing to say.
All the cliches I want to put out there, but it still doesn't gloss over the fact that we are doing well. No surprises yet. Yeah, we do have one surprise. We need a new special ed bus. We have two, so we always have one on a route and one as a backup. And the lift broke on one, and we have a cracked head in the other. So we were able to buy a lease bus from Cardinal Bus Sales at a cheaper price at about $5,000. But we're going to have to be purchasing a brand new bus, which is going to be in the neighborhood of $90,000. But that's not going to happen for a while. We'll put an order in, but we won't be buying that until later on in the spring. So that is our one surprise, but something that's very necessary for our district, that we have those buses in place for our students. So other than that, that's my financial report.
All right, do I have a motion?
So,
Motion by Mr. Jewell, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Dunkman. You may call the roll.
Mr. Jewell?
yes.
Mr. Dunkman?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried.
And the next thing on my agenda is one of my favorite things to do twice a year, is the five-year forecast, every October and May. I guess the good news is next year it'll be moved off till November instead of October with the change in law. But still, same process for me, just a month later. Our five-year forecast, since we renewed our emergency levy this past May, we were in great shape to be able to move into our new facility here in a couple years. Based on our forecast, and I don't have it in front of me, but I have it pretty well memorized. We sit really well this year, we sit really well next year, and we have money throughout the 5 years of the forecast. We're in the black throughout the 5 years. So that's a great thing. I've heard a lot of stories about how you really need to be careful when you move into a new facility, that when you think you're going to be saving money, a lot of times, utility-wise, that doesn't happen. So we will be in a very good position moving into that new facility in a couple of years from now. The only thing I would mention about our 5-year forecast is, in my forecast year 3, revenues and expenses, that's the first year where I'm forecasting that we will spend more than what we take in. And that's, to me, that's the biggest line on there. As long as you're not spending more than what you bring in, you're not ever gonna run out of money. It's very simple in a home budget. So if we get to the point where we are spending more than what we bring in, then we have to look and see where we are carryover wise. Is it something that we can contain, or do we have to look at either decreasing expenses or increasing revenue, one or the other? I don't think we're gonna be in that position for a while. So that's a great news as a board, that's a great news as a district, and great news as a community, that we're financially in a good position. So, didn't really go line by line item, just kind of paraphrasing my 5-year forecast, but if you don't have any questions, it's there for approval.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. McIntosh, second by Mr. Moore. If there are no questions, then you may call the roll.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mr. Dunkman?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lanehart?
Yes, thank you, motion carried.
And then my last thing is, everybody knows that we're a part of the Southwestern Ohio EPC, and we are looking at going out as a group for competitive bids for natural gas. And in order to do that, we need to pass a resolution as a school board to allow the Southwestern EPC to go out and do that on our behalf. So every district that's part of the EPC is passing this resolution in the October board meeting. Send this to them, and they can go out and negotiate on our behalf.
All right, do I have a motion?
So,
Is that Mr. Jewell? Okay, Mr. Jewell, I wasn't sure. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moore. All right, if there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Jewell?
yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mrs. Lanehart?
Yes,
And Mr. Dunkman?
Yes.
thank you, motion carried.
If that's okay, that'll be my report for the meeting.
We're okay with that, thank you.
So,
All right. At this time, we will move to the superintendent's report, Mr. Beck.
Thank you, Ms. Langhart. Just to give you a quick couple of updates really about the construction, and I know Pete Becker is here with us. He's our head of our construction crew that'll be bringing the building up out of the ground and bringing us to the conclusion. And we'll talk about that here in a second, but just wanted to also mention our groundbreaking. Yes, we've been pushing along hard, trying to get it to where we can actually have one. And part of the issue is, dealing with guaranteed maximum pricing for all of the subcontractors, all of that issue, all of those pieces. And there's a lot of things hitting the market right now that actually Pete has to deal with. We've all heard about the tariffs. What you don't hear a lot about yet is that for every 3 rounds of tariffs that we have already done, all of the other foreign countries have put tariffs on our goods and services. We don't just live in an economy that is contained within our borders now. This is a global economy. So when you start talking about aluminum and steel and, just to name a couple of the big ones that are out there, when you start talking about a building of this size, it does impact us. So the level of cost is kind of a challenge for these guys to get their hands on. So we do feel like we're, at this point, Pete can confirm that himself, that we're on budget now. So, and they've really worked hard. Pete's kind of cracked the whip on his guys, and I know our architects had to go back and redraw and redo things. Sometimes those guys, they get out there and make some really neat looking stuff, and it's still great, don't get me wrong, it's still great, but we have to make those kind of adjustments and hard decisions to get that pricing right where we need to be so that we can be on budget. And so we feel like we were there, and that allowed us, and it actually allowed the state to also say, you're good to go on a groundbreaking. So, and that's going to be tomorrow. I think they pulled out a couple of bigger pieces of equipment that arrived today, just for the photo op anyway. So tomorrow will be a fun day. It'll be, the ceremony will be directly behind the high school and what was in the grassy area there that used to be the soccer practice field at one time and football practice field at one time, right there in the middle. So you won't miss it. There'll be a big pile of dirt there. So that will begin promptly at 12:30. I would be there a little bit early, only because the whole school will be out there. So we'll have a bunch of kids. And public, if you're available, feel free to stop on by. Parking is limited, but we'll park behind the high school. We'll use some grass area as well, and so hopefully it'll be a pretty fun deal. We've got a lot of people that are going to join us, locally, business people and bond committee members that have worked for us, and we've got Senator Wilson, who is pretty key in the legislation that saved this district, as well as every other district that was in process. Millions of dollars, so he'll be with us, and from the ESC and from our city officials, and we're excited. So it'll be fun, and so join us. Want to invite everybody. With that, Pete, I don't know if there's, I want to make Pete available if you guys had any questions, or if you want to add anything else to kind of the where we're at process, and just kind of give a quick review and really more of a conversation, but I thought it would be good to have Pete here. So
come down here soon.
Sure. You'll get used to seeing Pete around now for the next couple years.
Starting soon, the whole team, right?
Yeah, the whole team.
Good evening.
Hey.
You know, Larry was talking a little bit about the last 4 weeks have been challenging. This isn't the only project we're seeing. So typically at the design development phase, so back in the summer, we brought the schematic design in, and that's based on historic data, what we've been buying, our K-12 projects specifically. And we look at like all our historic data, so when then we take the real-time data from the districts we build, like Fairfield, all the Northwest schools, we got through the DD process on Winton Woods, we compare that back, and then we get market input. And it was interesting, Larry was talking about, everybody's trying to figure out what's going to happen with the cost of goods that are impacted by the tariffs. And sometimes we try to hedge, a little bit, but we're somewhat conservative, but then we want to max out what we can buy for districts. So at the design development phase, typically we'll go out and take 3 or 4 key trades on every subcontractor on every trade that we do a lot of work with, and we get budgets back in from them and check them against our estimates. And it's interesting, I was talking with a subcontractor just the other day, because I was in another meeting for another project we just did the schematic design on, and he was telling me there's more work getting put in place in 2021 and 2020 than has seen in a long time. So there's there's no surprise that you hear about the trades and the amount of workforce, and little Johnny's going, coming out of high school and he's going to college, all that preaching that's been going on. So the trade force has gone down, and companies and when the recession came out, we used to have all these companies out of the yin yang. A lot of them don't exist anymore. So everybody's scrambling for the same group of people, and it's a commodity market. And so that's been a challenge. We got there. It's better to put the brakes on a little bit, get us back in reality. Put some conservative measures in, protect the budget with alternates. My gosh, we're probably up to like 30 million alternates right now, but we got a good track record of buying them. There's still a lot of contingency that's in the project that gets released at 25% of the job, 50% from our contingency in our state contract, but we've had a lot of discussions about, how to protect the budget and then maximize what we can buy for the district. We finished that process up last Wednesday. I think it was, it took a lot of work to get there. Everybody rolled their sleeves up. We've had a million meetings probably with Mike Parkinson and the design team. And we got some efficient designs that they're working on, and we'll probably bring in maybe the next board meeting, we'll bring the design development estimate package back in with some new renderings. And at the end of the day, today we sent out the early site guaranteed max price to start the earthwork and the pipe. The pipe for me is that stuff that catches all the rainwater. And then, so we're meeting tomorrow after groundbreaking to work out the details of that GMP and then hopefully push that through. And we got our guys lined up. The fences go up November 1st. Good thing about this job, it really is conducive to, in my mind, and from meeting with our site guys, working in through the winter. So, because we're doing a lot of undercutting in the ground, we're getting the dirt out of the ground. So I think that's going to go well. Our next big push is to work on November 16th. We're going to get our GMP documents from the architect. So we'll be bidding this project out right before the holidays. So we'll take bids probably, you start getting into the holiday crunch, maybe the last week of December, not Christmas week, but maybe if not the last week of December, the very first week of January would be when we would take numbers in. Then the big building package GMP comes in, and that's where the rubber meets the road. So we're positioning the project, I think, to be in a good spot, but that'll be our true test of how well the guys have been working together. So we're excited. We're ready to go. I got guys lined up. Nate Minnick-Weber's going to be helping us out on the early site. Brian Ramsey's still down working on that basketball arena down at the UC, so that's coming together for us, and then we'll have the full team here mobilized, hopefully right around first of the year. So permitting-wise, we went to a village hearing, it was about a month ago. We walked out of there at 11 o'clock at night, so we worked through those, got approvals there, we got some final site stuff that's getting approved. And it's interesting, there's a 60-inch storm line that comes right through the middle of your property, in between the Alden Brown and the high school, that apparently there was never an easement done. So all that stormwater for development upstream for all these years, for our sake, for the designers team, they thought, hey, that's our pipe, we can tie into it wherever we want, and apparently that wasn't the case. And it took a while to get through site approvals and stormwater calculations because of the stream in the back, but we got there and we're making progress. So it's been, every job's a challenge. You never go fast enough, but once we do start going, it'll go pretty quick. So, any questions?
No. I don't have any.
All right. Well, thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you for being here.
No problem, always.
We're looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes, happy
We got lots of
times.
shovels coming. I thought I had 14, but I recounted them. Apparently one box only came with one. We got 13 shovels. They're nice, shiny. But good picture ops. We'll have our marketing person here taking pictures. Chad texted me Sunday and asked me if I had a drone.
We actually found one.
Yeah, apparently.
There's our drone guy. He's got a drone.
He's texting me this weekend, hey man, you got a drone? I was like, Chad, I can't even work my iPhone.
We've lost
That's
one.
exactly.
Yeah.
Should have went to him quick to start with.
Well, good, thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
All right.
We've lost a few.
Yeah.
So, moving on with our action items, under general business, we have first readings of the policies listed. They're in your packet. I would like to pull 4162. It needs a little bit more work on it just to get it in line with a couple of our other policies as well. Again, this is just a first reading anyway, so we'll clean it up and it'll be back in the next reading and we can do it then as well. Okay? So I need approval for those.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moore, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. McIntosh. If you don't have any questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mrs. Leonhardt?
Yes.
Mr. Dunkman?
Yes.
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried.
Item B2, I need approval for the classified resignations listed below A and B.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dunkman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jewell. If there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Dunkman?
Yes.
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
And Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried.
Item 3, under classified employment, need approval for items A through D. I will mention that the item A is a creation due to a student that we had into the district that we're dealing with. So it'll be a part-time position at this point in time. And whether it's, is this the same one? Is this the afternoon one or the AM? This is the afternoon.
This is, yeah.
So that one will likely stay in some capacity,
Okay.
but because of the age of the child, we don't know yet where it'll flush out. So I wanted to make you aware of what that is. So I need approval for A through D.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
By Mrs. McIntosh, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jewell. All right, if you don't have any questions, you may call the roll.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes.
Mr. Dunkman?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried.
Item 4, A through D, I need approval for the supplemental resignations listed below.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moore, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jewell. If there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Dunkman?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes, thank you, motion carried.
Item 5, supplemental employment. I need approval for those supplementals to be approved, items A through J.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dunkman. I'll make the second. If there's no questions, you may call the roll.
Mr. Dunkman?
Yes.
Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes.
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
And Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried.
And that concludes my section.
All right. Mr. Moore, do you have a legislative report?
Nothing of value to add.
All right, there's nothing good that goes on there anyway, so.
There will be some action
There will
going
be
on. They're
some
just ready to go into the lame duck here in a little bit. And so that's when all the crazy stuff happens.
All
But
the nutty stuff.
right now, nobody's doing anything until the election's over.
Smart people. So, the CTC met on October 9th at 7 o'clock, 2018, and it was our regular meeting. And also, we had an OSBA meeting that was held at the CTC as well, and that was on October the 11th, 2018 at 7 p.m. So do we have any old business? Any new business? No, I would like to say that I am looking very forward to tomorrow. We're going to have the groundbreaking and inviting everybody to come out and arrive early so that we can, like Mr. Hook says, find a parking place and a place to stand probably. So,
Yes. Well, no, you get to sit. I'll have some guest seating. But I don't have a couple thousand seats. I just don't have them.
but this has been long waiting for, so we appreciate all the support in our community, and so come out and have some fun with us tomorrow. So, all right. Is there any other new business that we need to talk about or anything? Okay, at this time, I would need a motion for us to go into executive session for personnel reasons with no action to follow. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moore, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jewell. All right, you may call the roll.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Jewell?
Yes.
Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Dunkman?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lainhart?
Yes, thank you, motion carried. And the time will be, what do you have? I have,
Time in is 6:53.
all right, thank you.